The Best of Living in Iowa is funded in part by the Gilchrist Foundation. Founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interests of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.
Funding for this program was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation. Generations of families and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa Public Television.
Hello, this is Morgan Halgren. For 16 seasons, Living in Iowa told the tale of what it means to be uniquely Iowan. Tonight, we honor that spirit by bringing you another glimpse into our rich heritage with a few stories from our archives. In this episode of The Best of Living in Iowa, we learn about Shinkendo, the Japanese art of swordsmanship. Talk with Robert Waller, internationally acclaimed author of the Bridges of Madison County, 12 years after his book sent him soaring to fame and fortune. And we see how the Isiserettes are not just another drill team. The samurai way of life has made its way to the cornfields of Iowa, thanks to Dan Coughlin and Jillian Arnn. This young couple teaches Shinkendo, a form of martial arts based on samurai swordsmanship, where the steps to building self-confidence are sharply defined. Kids, don't try this at home. No need to worry about these children because they're using wooden replicas of samurai swords in a demonstration led by their instructors, Dan Coughlin and Jillian Arnn.
The idea that if they let their children train in a martial art, that they're swinging swords, they're learning how to be violent. And the truth is, what they're hopefully learning is how to control themselves to not be violent. There's a fascination to using the sword. 90% of our students are attracted to the flash and the imagery of people sword fighting. Very few of them say, I'm looking for inner peace. I want to become a better person.
But that's exactly what Soke Toshishiro Obata had in mind when he created a modern martial art called Shinkendo. Soke is a term of respect, meaning founder or master. Soke's idea was to teach deeper philosophical lessons through serious training to develop the mind, body, and spirit. The ultimate goal of Shinkendo is to lead a more rewarding life with patience, respect, and caring for others. Shinkendo's techniques are taken from the effective fighting methods once used by the samurai. Other martial art forms were added to create an historically accurate and comprehensive style of Japanese swordsmanship. Soke is a cutting competition champion, a master of many martial arts, a martial arts movie choreographer, and stuntman. His home and dojo, or school, are both in California, but he was born in Japan, into a family with 400 years of samurai ancestry. Jillian and Dan were honored to have Soke teach and observe their Shinkendo classes, including this children's group of samurai sword handlers.
It's very athletic in its own way, but it allows a lot of kids, for that first time in their life, they are good at something. They are good at this physical thing, and they're able to hold their head up and stand proud.
I decided to explore the power of Shinkendo firsthand. Jillian started me off with basic moves that are to be learned through constant repetition until the body can perform them without thinking.
That's the coordination and balance that you're looking for. Yeah. I've learned a lot of different things about myself, a whole new way of just being able to walk and to move. It's become most of my life. You reach a point where you realize that all the concepts we work on, the balance, awareness, all of that transfers outside into your life, outside of class.
Dan says that the intensity of this basic form is deceptive and assures me that I'm getting good aerobic exercise. Developing a sharper focus is essential for safety reasons, especially as Dan demonstrates how to draw a razor-sharp blade followed by an immediate cutting motion.
So the difficulty is being able to take the sword from a resting position and have it out very quickly and have an actual legitimate serious cut performed at the same time. To do it, the technique, the motion perfectly, to do it right, it's not a pride, but rather that there's a sense of accomplishment. And it's a confidence builder. Having the confidence to even open a school is something I just wouldn't have dreamed of 3 years ago.
It may seem unusual to see a century of American history reflected in the window of Dan and Jillian's dojo, and to know that a millennium of samurai history is taking root just yards away from the Hoover Museum in West Branch. But Jillian and Dan feel they've found the perfect place to revive the philosophy behind the samurai way of life, where daily discipline allows the mind to focus inward, a kind of active meditation.
That's the point where people are gaining more mentally and spiritually than they are physically, because it's a form that their body knows and can do without conscious thought.
Another aspect of Shinkendo involves sparring exercises. Even though the moves are choreographed, each strike uses serious technique, and if done properly, shouldn't look staged.
It's not competitive. My goal isn't to beat her. My goal is to do what I'm doing better than I did it yesterday. The goal is to make myself not just a better martial artist, but a better person as well. By staying focused on actually improving, it also makes you a bit more patient and more understanding with what you're trying to accomplish.
To underscore how comfortable this couple is practicing Shinkendo in a small farming community, they gave us a demonstration, inspired by one of their students who wrote and performed this song titled Samurai in the Cornfield.
And she started slow, and then it kind of builds in intensity as you start cutting. And she had visions of samurai riding on horses and battling in the cornfields with each other.
To Dan and Jillian, Soke embodies all of what it means to be a samurai, the legend, the art form, and the philosophy he teaches.
And to actually have him here in my school and teaching my students that he would be willing to do that is humbling beyond words.
So what does it take to learn the secrets of the samurai?
The truth is, the secret is that this is just a lifelong journey. It just continually builds and grows, and hopefully that's a path you don't stop on once you start.
Shinkendo reminds you that you can do something, you can improve, you can make something with yourself and make something of your life if you want to, and you can make a difference.
In the 12 years since his quiet novel about love and loss took the world by storm, Robert James Waller has kept as low a public profile as celebrity would allow. Last fall, he was invited back to Iowa to be honored for his writing, and when word of his acceptance got out, his scheduled time here quickly filled up. He agreed to meet us in Winterset and sat down in what fans will recognize as Francesca's kitchen for an update on life after the Bridges of Madison County. Robert James Waller returned to the rustic structures he made famous as part of a series on well-known movie locations produced by the Travel Channel, a national cable television program. To Waller, the bridges are like dear old friends.
I spent so much time with those bridges. I thought back, about sitting in there by myself having lunch on a rainy day when nobody was paying any attention to these old bridges.
We interviewed Waller in 1991, shortly before his novel became a phenomenon. Now, over 11 years later, this somewhat private person sat down with us in the house where the movie Bridges of Madison County was filmed. It seems strange to be interviewing Waller in a kitchen that was the product of his imagination. Strange also because the house is open to the public, but not heated in the fall. Give our viewers an idea of how big Bridges got.
Well, the metaphor I use is that it was a tsunami for me. A tsunami is a hidden wave that goes along under the ocean's surface, and as it approaches shore, it suddenly gets very large and very big. And if you're standing on the shore, it's going to overwhelm you. So personally, that's the way it was. The last I knew, it had sold 12 million copies in 36 languages. People tell me it's the largest selling hardcover novel of all time.
This former dean of University of Northern Iowa's College of Business related the amazing experience of writing The Bridges of Madison County.
It was just intense pleasure, and it was all there. It was all there. As fast as I could type, the story just was coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. At page 90, I knew how it was going to end. It was just a period of intense pleasure, 20 hours a day.
Robert attributes this flow of inspiration to his personal muse. Is the wizard still with you, your muse?
Yeah, the wizard is. I stopped talking about the wizard because all the wise guy media people began making fun of me. But these wonderful things that go through the human mind, the creative stuff, and the little voices that talk to you. Yeah, the wizard's still there. Not as strong as he once was. And I'm not certain whether it's because I moved away from Iowa or not. My creative roots were always in Iowa.
Waller has put down new roots at a remote ranch in Texas. And although he never thought he would need an unlisted phone number, the number of fans generated by the book forced him to distance himself in that way as well.
Personally, it was kind of fun at the beginning. I thought, well, this is kind of neat, you know, an economist, applied mathematics guy who fiddled around writing some essays and wrote this little story, and it took off. Then it got scary. I coined a phrase which I think describes me pretty well. I can't do anything about the fame, but I could do something about the celebrity. America has a way of really going after you if you get too big. Somebody wants to debate me, carp about my books, that's fine, as long as it's reasoned criticism. But to make fun of the way I look and things such as that, I got tired of certain punishment from certain quarters, and so who needs it? You know, I've got other things to do with my life.
So does Iowa seem very far away when you're in Texas?
Yes, Iowa does seem a long ways away when I'm in Texas. And I have mixed feelings about that. I like the weather a lot better down there. And I live in an extremely remote area, you know. A lot of people know I wrote about the environment a great deal. And given the price of land in Texas, I was able to put together my own ecological system. And so I have my own natural preserve, as I call a wild, silent place.
The scenic beauty of his ranch is the inspiration for many of Waller's photographs. A current project combines pictures and poetry.
The cowboys, a few of them hang on while the times change. Vince and Dogie, Sam and Monty and Apache. They drink at the Crystal Bar and hear the sound of distant trains, like passengers left at the station. You know, I'm not a real reflective person, I don't think. I think a lot of people would judge me to be that way. I'm a doer, and I learn from doing. I'm a problem solver. I'm always busy. I'm a very busy boy, as my mother would say. I'm always working on projects.
Projects like spending a year and a half learning how recordings are made, setting up a home recording studio, and producing his own music CD for distribution among his friends.
I don't see myself as a very complicated guy. My daddy basically taught me, get up early, work hard, work smart. Maybe some luck will come along too.
He calls himself a man without a plan, doing whatever feels right at the time.
I did have a real strong need to go to the ghost towns in New Mexico, so I did that. I visited, I spent over a week just visiting ghost towns.
So the Rambler is still in me?
Oh yeah, I'm an old-time traveler. Artistic types seem to like to travel. That's been true for centuries. A new perspective. There's something magic about the road.
Words that could have been spoken by Robert Kincaid, the main character in The Bridges of Madison County. Waller makes no secret that Robert Kincaid's personality is a reflection of his own. The sequel to Bridges, 1,000 Country Roads, shows yet another side of the Kincaid-Waller persona.
I think what you're seeing is me as I get older, sort of contemplating. But it goes all the way back to my boyhood, which I've written about, and spending so much time in nature up in Rockford, Iowa, on the Shell Rock and Winnebago rivers. There's a great humility that one learns from dealing with nature. And that humility got lost at times, particularly in adolescent years. You think you're pretty hot stuff. But eventually it came back and stayed with me. And that's the reason Robert Kincaid says to his son, burn everything when I'm gone. Burn it all. The search for immortality is pretty futile. In fact, that's in my will, that when I'm gone, all the unfinished manuscripts and so on are to be destroyed.
What Robert never expected to see destroyed was one of his beloved bridges of Madison County, Cedar Bridge.
I was devastated. I mean, truly. I always viewed them as very elegant old people. And for somebody to harm one of those is the equivalent of attacking a very elegant, quiet old person who's not bothering anybody.
Waller's participation in the Travel Channel program was to raise awareness of the bridges and help with fundraising efforts for the reconstruction of Cedar Bridge. The main reason for his return to Iowa was to accept the 2002 Iowa Author Award from the Public Library of Des Moines Foundation.
All that stuff. I am very flattered and honored, truly, to receive this award. It is extremely kind of you. But I must say, I find it passing strange when somebody recognizes me for writing, because I do not think of myself as a writer. As I like to say, I always do just one thing, and I change the tools from time to time. But it's always the same, whether it's jazz guitar, writing, doing photography. It's always exactly the same vision, at least to me it is. And that personal vision I just mentioned has Iowa at its core. I'm still an Iowa boy, and I always will be. So I thank you very much for recognizing the worth of one of my tools and for inviting me back to where it all began and from whence it still all flows, Iowa. Thanks again.
The next time you find yourself craning your neck to locate the source of an irresistible syncopated drum rhythm, chances are you'll get a look at the Isiserettes. This unforgettable drill and drum corps from Des Moines has a long tradition of performing and of changing lives left and right. In Des Moines' inner city, it's a cold Wednesday night. That means it's time to warm up if you're part of the Isiserettes Drill and Drum Corps.
60 jumping jacks begin. 1.
I've been in the drill team since, 1980, since it started. I just love drill teams. I love to deal with the kids, keep them out of trouble,
12, 13.
It's to give inner city youth something to do to keep them off the streets.
That's what this drill team is all about, is giving these kids an opportunity to keep growing, to keep moving towards their goals. And for some of these kids, when they first came out of here, they couldn't even speak to people in front of crowds. They couldn't get in front of a group of their own friends and do something. By the time they leave here, each and every one of these kids have the same type of skills that any business professional would have.
Small circles going to the back.
We bring a lot of energy. So if you've ever been a part of it or seen it, it's a lot of energy. I mean, and most people that come away watching us are just truly amazed about what these kids can do.
What they can do is entertain.
these guys dedicate every Saturday, every Wednesday, year-round, performing day in and day out.
We've had a lot of kids that have graduated and left, and they've got good jobs. Some have went on to college, some have joined dance teams at their school. They play basketball, cheerleaders, and stuff like that after leaving here.
If you wanted to be an Isiserette, you'd have to be 7 to 17 years old, keep a C average and stay in school, not have any kids, and stay off drugs. You'd also have to show up for rehearsals and performances and re-audition every year. The rules are strict, but about 130 youngsters have made the cut. They all have different reasons for wanting to be on the team.
Well, since my two sisters joined the Isiserettes, I seen them in the parade, and so I wanted to join it.
Well, we make a lot of friends and stuff.
Because you get to dance and you get to go everywhere, go out of town and everything.
It's fun to travel with people that you know around everywhere. You probably get to play a better drum, I guess, if you're good.
Funded by United Way and donations, this group has been going strong for more than 20 years. That's long enough that many of today's volunteer instructors are Isiserette alumni.
But you're still there, though. No, you actually turned. It gave me a lot of discipline. The ladies in here, it was like a second mother to me. If I wasn't in that, I wouldn't know where I'd be. If I'd be lost or locked up somewhere, you never know, because the situation we were growing up was kind of rough back then. So that's what made me get involved in giving back to the community. That's a big part of what we didn't have. We might as well pass it on to the next generation.
That person's been turning, everybody else ain't watching. Half you guys doing a step one way, the other one's doing a step the other way. What did I get from it? I think it's the competitiveness that we, go out and compete across the country against people, self-confidence, and performing in front of a large crowd. But basically, why I'm back is to get back to my community.
Most importantly, what I got from the Isiserettes is an opportunity to express myself. It's really fun. I got a lot out of this. I wouldn't give it up for the world.
Some of the stuff we make up ourselves, and some of the stuff we learn from music videos and stuff like that.
The kids make up part of it. Some of it's taken from old routines from the past, intermingling of old, new routines, stuff the kids are familiar with doing, things that we believe will have crowd appeal.
I guess breaking the stereotype of young black youth can't do this, they're always negative, but when they see us out there, there's a positive thing, and that's what we strive to be positive, even on the drill team or outside the drill team.
Don't look at us and say, oh my goodness, look at all these teenage boys coming down the street, they're all gang members. No, it's the Isiserettes, and we bring something that no gang can ever bring, and that's a family and a tradition that has lasted 20 years.
A lot of people do have a perception of what Iowa's about, and we're about more than cornfields and cows, and we're about, this is what we're about in our community, and I think the Isiserettes kind of shows other people outside of our community. It gives them a little insight of what's going on and what we're about and what we have, what we're capable of doing.
That there are African American youth in Iowa. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things we hear when we go places. There's black people in Iowa? Yeah, there were kind of everywhere. Do we live on farms? That people's stereotypes about Iowa in general are, farm town, small town, and then that they see black people who are normal black people, they're like, whoa. So to break those stereotypes and for them to see that we have positive kids doing positive things is really great.
All right, the Isiserettes.
The Best of Living in Iowa is funded in part by the Gilchrist Foundation. Founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interests of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.
Funding for this program was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation. Generations of families and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa Public Television.